Ever since we had that big boost on what Friday, ever since we had the big boost on Friday, we've kind of just been in the chop area since really Monday, right? So nothing too exciting happening, but this is where a lot of people get tripped out. This is where a lot of people get tricked out because what is happening behind the scenes is people getting into puts and calls. Obviously, okay. Now, one of two things is going to happen: either we pump out of here or we dump out of here. I think volatility has shown itself over and over. But what is being collected right here is basically is nothing, right? Nothing like there is a nothing. Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. So, getting into calls or puts right here, I would say is kind of guessing. Basically, I mean, Monday, like nothing's happened since Monday. It's just been going up. Like, look at this, right? But there is levels to pay attention to. Okay, there's levels to pay attention to. All right, the main levels is 613.60. Okay, and I think like we know the market's not done. First of all, we know the market is going to continue to march to the upside. Now it's more so. Now it's more so. Is it going to pull more bears in? Are more bears going to become liquidity? Kind of like what happened around the same time last year, right? Some of you guys remember what happened last time, or around the same time last year, and we did have that retracement, all the way up until April, and then we had that huge reversal the rest of the year. Now, could the same thing happen, or will it just rip right here, get to all of our price targets, which is 660, 670 on the Qs, right? And then have the correction for the latter part of the year. Okay, those are the two scenarios that I'm paying attention to. Um, and that's why I think this level is so important. Okay, the level that we're at is so important, which is 617. 617 is the most important level right now, and that's why it keeps rejecting when it gets up there. The reason that level is important is because if you come over here and you draw the fibs from the all-time high, which was back here in January 28th, the all-time highs to the low that we just had Thursday last week, 617, 618 really. 617, 618 in this area above here, it tells you we're ready to go back to all-time highs. You got it? So that's why this level is playing around a little bit, because when it starts breaking out and getting above, it's basically we're going to all-time highs. Okay, so very, very important spot for the Qs, very, very important spot for the market in general. And I'm watching these two levels as we stated in the Discord earlier. Okay, we know what levels we're watching. It right here is important. It's important, okay? And obviously you can do the same thing to the downside. Okay, now I'm watching 606 to the downside, and then that'll basically, we're basically ready to go to 600 and even a new low. So I'm not here to come on here and be bullish unless we're buying like some December, unless we're doing like that or buying some equity or, scalping a little bit. But really, it could go either way. It could go either way. That's why this right here is very, very important, okay? I do want to look at one thing before we get started, and then we'll look at some of the stocks you guys want to look at. Like I said, I don't plan on being live for too long today. I think, we're in a very interesting spot in the market. Extreme fear on the put and calls. A lot of people are in puts, but, it's kind of, not, we're kind of at like the same point as November. Really, if we want a real rally, we would have to get those April 9th, 2025. This at 1. And that was when peak tariffs were happening, if some of you guys remember, right? Peak tariff. So this was at 1. A lot of people were in puts, and then this ultimately kicked off the bull run all the way up until where we're at right now. So I would like to see this at 1 personally, just because I know there will be so many good opportunities, but we'll see. Okay, market is neutral. Like I said, 50-50. That's what that's what the TA is telling us anyways. Okay, market is 50-50. It's 50-50 right here. It's not one side isn't giving too much. The other side's not giving too much. It's 50-50 right here. So if you're thinking the market's going to go up, 50%. Sometimes it's 70, sometimes it's 80. But right here, 50-50. Anyways, let's look at some plays. Nasdaq will be red and have pullback before going above that fib zone back to all-time highs. Mark my words. I actually agree with that as well. I like that theory as well. I think it can, but I'm not gonna leave out. I'm not gonna leave out the possibility of a lot of people getting left behind as well. Okay, because if we start pumping, I know a lot of people that are getting left behind. I know a lot of people that want this to dip. Okay, but we'll have to see. CVX is a long play. I agree. Energy in general is a very long play. Yeah, this thing's breaking out of a multi-year. Okay, since August 2022. want the discount too. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, since October 2022, this thing has been in a consolidation zone. I believe this pump will be big. I believe, like I said, like gold and we gold and silver, and I think that money's rotating into commodities. Energy, obviously. That's why NEE was a great play inside the Discord. I still think this one could continue to go up. Energy in general, oil, obviously. These are these are layups. Okay, so if you want a layup type of play, you would look at some of these. Okay, you would look at NEE. You would look at CVX. All right. Anyways, move on. Pepsi. Yeah, Pepsi's gone. Pepsi's gone, but right here isn't pay attention to what it's doing at 168. Okay, 168 is the bounce zone, kind of like what you're seeing for this 4 hour right here. Okay, but I'd be paying attention to see what it does right there. 168. 168. Obviously, bigger picture, it is now breaking above a level. We talked about this on Twitter a while ago. Okay, I said don't sleep on Pepsi. Do not sleep on Pepsi. So I don't really want to look at Pepsi too hard right now because you should have really gotten to this at like 144 if you're looking for calls. Now, if you're looking for puts right here, I think these commodity type of stocks and these stocks that have dividends and are stocks that have been around for quite some time and etc. These boomer type of stocks, if you will. Those are the type of stocks to look for. So if you look at what we posted here, do not for a second sleep on some of these dividend kings. One of my favorite setups going into the rest of the month. This was January 19th, okay? Pepsi was what? 146. It was 146. So first target was, 149, and then above here it gets fun, 160. And now it's made a $9 move above that level. This to me is ready to go to all-time highs, okay? The stocks that haven't gone to all-time highs are ready to go to all-time highs, okay? And, obviously, depending on what stock you look at. But even if you look at the trend that this just broke out of, it even retested back down here on the weekly, okay? So it broke out very strong, back tested, okay, on the weekly. To me, this goes to all-time highs here very, very soon, okay? Very, very soon. Monthly looks incredible. Daily, literally retested it. Everything checks out for this to start marching to all-time highs. I love Pepsi. I've loved it since it was like I said on the Twitter, since it was 146. Okay, so I think Pepsi's a really good one. You're just a bit late. Somebody said it. EOS, am I cooked? Are you? Let's check it out, man. Are you cooked? I think you're cooked. I think you're cooked for now. But then again, let's look at IWM really quick because it really follows what IWM is doing. And if you look at IWM is actually in a victim level, which means it needs a weekly close above this level. If not, anyone buying right here is gonna be obliterated. Okay, so if you're buying calls on IWM right here, you're more likely than not. Well, I'm not gonna say more likely than not. If you're buying calls right here, you're kind of trying to catch pennies because it is a victim level and it like the risk to reward isn't there, if you will. So if I'm looking at risk to reward type of trades and I'm looking to catch this going to the upside, it has a lot more room to go to the downside actually because you've missed the actual good buying opportunity, which was 254. Okay, so you missed this whole entire move. You're now buying someone's 1,000% contract, and you're hoping it goes up, maybe just a little bit more. Really, this isn't where you want to buy it at. This is actually where, I'm not gonna say puts because I don't like puts, but this isn't where you would even want to touch it. You would just leave it alone unless it closes above 266, which will then put it out of the victim level, and then you'll be able to do something. So, EOS, it follows small caps because it is a small cap. It's a $3 billion market cap stock. What I'd be paying attention to the most is that you actually want probably more of a, it's sitting in the buying area. It's still sitting in the buying area. So really, if it doesn't bounce right here, it's going to 970. Okay, so I would say there's hope for it. Especially right here. Okay. But if it goes below this level, you're most likely not gonna get this double bottom. It's more likely not just gonna come down to $9.80. Okay, which isn't even that bad. It's like $2 away. So it should bounce. Like this is it's not this is where it should bounce. If it goes below the low that it had today, get out or just hold. Like I don't know what you have, maybe equity or something. But the bull run is not over. Okay, the bull run is not over. Still a lot of bullish things gonna end up happening, but earnings is even in 9 days. I still think this can, retouch IPO price and even above, okay? But, the market is the market, okay? If you guys remember back in April, okay, like back last year, not even that long ago, right? Like the same situation was happening, okay? You had these small caps dumping. This was $6. It went all the way down to $3. After the April tariffs was done, it had another boost, and then it finally did this. So you really can't be mad if this does go to $9 and consolidates for a little bit, and then does have its big move at the later part of the year, because the real move where this happened was August 15th through October. That's like what, 2 months, where this went from $6 to all-time highs. So with all that said, it looks like you are cooked. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking, but not a lot of things are looking good in the short term, okay? Because like I said, this is at victim level. It hasn't closed above. Victim level. Let me mute this. It hasn't closed above victim level. Today. So you need some closes above here. And the reason I'm saying this is victim level, some of you guys remember Iron, right? Like this was peak victim level, okay? We put the victim level here on the weekly, and a lot of people didn't believe, and then it went all the way to 62, but never weekly closed, and then it went below, and then this thing ultimately bottomed out at around $24. Okay, so victim levels are very important because it's showing you that you're not getting a good entry, right? Anyways, move on. Google May calls. I think May calls could be all right. Okay. For Google, somebody asked me about Google, I think yesterday, and I said this was bearish just based on it, making higher lows, right, that you see right here, and then it finally had this dip. But right here, now that it's right here, we know how. First of all, we know Google is going to end up winning the AI race. Like, first of all, we know that. Second of all, I don't want to be too bearish on Google right here, because if you look at the trend, there's no way. Like you'd be going up against a year long trend that every single time you get a few red candles, it ends up going absolutely crazy after. So I wouldn't be too short right here, especially because you kind of already missed it going from 348 all the way down to 310. You missed the $30 move. And it's now forming a weekly hidden divergence, okay? And you come over here. It's actually closing below the buying area, okay? The next area would be around 300, okay? So I wouldn't be long here. But it's also, it has like a $10 move before the next big bounce. The next big bounce, you have a $10 move. So if it was me, I'd be waiting for this to make a new high and try to go long on it, which would be around, around 320. But inside of here, no man's land. I wouldn't even touch it. Because you missed the short today. You missed the short, this whole entire week. Now it's more so, okay, I'm trying to buy it. All right. But I'm not really, I think it's more bearish than bullish, I will say. More bearish than bullish. At least until it gets above 320. Above 320, it then puts a new trend starts to form, and then you're able to anyways. So when the short IWM, the risk to reward for the short is this week. You would just take the opportunity to maybe get some February 27th 255 or something and see what it does, because the risk is you just waiting for it to close above the victim level on the weekly. And then if it closes above, if it closes above what, 256, then you just get out, right? Probably lose about 20% or 10%. right? Because it's only like what, $1 away. Kroger. Why you gotta look at Kroger? KMB. What is KMB? Ew. Ew. Is this healthcare? Consumer durables, household per. You must be trying to get some equity. If you're trying to get some equity, I don't really see anything. First of all, like this isn't like, I don't know. You know, like I don't know. I don't know. Don't know. Don't know. Don't know. But if we're just looking at long term and equity, then there's no better equity than a chart that goes up and to the right, that is on a discount. Okay. So I would say it looks good for equity if that was my type of, if I'm looking to get into some equity type of plays, right? But in terms of options, not sure. Sell calls if the market going down. Absolutely, I agree. Riot. What is Riot doing? Let's look at Tesla. Tesla. Let's like the live stream. Put in the comments what stocks you guys want to look at. We will look at them. Tesla. Tesla, 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 Tesla. Tesla. Tesla, 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 Tesla. Tesla literally closed at resistance, okay? I want to see how this plays out tomorrow. It literally closed at resistance. At the resistance, okay? It closed literally right there at the resistance, okay? So we really want to see what this does. And this was the main level. Some of you guys remember, from just the previous live, this was the main level to be paying attention to. We were watching over here, and the 2 days where this rejected each day, we knew this was going to end up going to the downside. Now it's there again. This is going to depend a whole lot on I think CPI probably this week, and a lot of the data that's going to end up coming out. I think tomorrow has some data as well. But yeah, this is what that's going to depend on. Okay, this is literally at the resistance. So yeah, that's the main thing that I'd be paying attention to. How does this close on the weekly? How does it close on the weekly? I will say though, okay, I will say now that I'm looking at this on the weekly, it looks bullish, man. You got the hidden weekly divergence that you got right here, and we've seen these things play out. I think Tesla could actually be in for a huge move to the upside, barring what happens at 428, because this is a hidden bullish divergence on a weekly. On a weekly. Okay, the last time something even close like this happened was right here, right where it ended up bottoming out and taking you to that next level. So I like Tesla a whole lot. This is actually even a deeper one, and it didn't even move down that much. Didn't even move down that much. This thing made a higher low, and on the R side made a lower low. That is very bullish. Very bullish. So no way I'd be super bearish. I like it. I like it to the upside. But like I said, 428. QUBT, MU. What do you think of Amazon? Let's look at Amazon. Amazon's sitting in a very interesting spot. First of all, what you have to realize about Amazon, I guarantee you a lot of people are trying to catch this bottom, kind of like what was happening with, what happens with a lot of stocks that dump for earnings that we know are great stocks, etc. A lot of people are trying to catch this dip, but the main thing to focus on is what's going to end up happening at this $200 level, okay? Focus on this $200 level. It went there, bounced, and that's a huge level, by the way, okay? That's from the April low to the all-time high price. Very, very big level, okay? Now, I think it's what usually happens with these stocks that dump for earnings. Very rarely do they sit here in V shape. They usually make another little dip, okay? I've seen it happen more than V shapes happen, okay? It usually gets all the people. It usually gets all the first time dip buyers, gets them all out, and then the second dip is really where you want to start looking at it for, okay? Now you might get lucky, you might if you buy calls, like same thing with Microsoft. So this is like Microsoft's at a very, very important level. Same thing with Amazon. Okay, they're all in their Fibonacci. They're all in their Fibonacci 618. Yeah, I didn't even have to draw it up. They're all sitting right there. They're all bounced from there today. Let me see what Amazon is actually. Amazon might have went lower. But yeah, Very important level for yeah, Amazon as well. Very, very important levels, okay? This is what I'm saying. The market is either gonna pump right here or it's gonna dump right here, which is obvious, but I'm talking about the volatility. I'm talking about volatility wise. Like it'll dump hard, okay? Where I'm talking like we make it like 575 on like the Qs, versus where it's at right now, like 612. Okay, I think if we dump, a lot of people are gonna believe we topped out. Okay, I think a lot of liquidity will be taken. Okay, so this is a very very important level. Like if we're looking at Amazon, we looked at Tesla, we looked at Microsoft. They all bounce from their from where they should bounce, which is 202.50. But if they start breaking below there, then we're gonna get that second dip after earnings, and I think that's very very important to pay attention to, because Amazon had earnings and it dumped for earnings, right? And like I said, usually get those second dips. We usually don't get V shapes, right? We get those second dips, and then that second dip is where you want to end up buying. So Amazon dumped for earnings, Microsoft dumped for earnings. Um, so yeah, those are two things to pay attention to. Anyways, what do you think about Amazon tomorrow? It needs to stay above 202. 202.50. If it can stay above 202.50, great. If it can't, lower. 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 Because we're like, if we look at the that's why I don't really want to spend too, that's why I don't really want to be live for too long today. Because if you look at the NASDAQ, if you look at the Qs, first of all, we're chopping, okay? We're chopping. Second of all, we're in no man's land, okay? We're big bull above 618, and we're big bear below 606. Okay, that'll basically tell us where the next move in the market is going. Now, if you want to jump the gun here, fine. Like if you want to try to get some calls here and be early, sure. Or if you want to try to get some puts here and be early, sure. Okay, but whichever way this ends up going is gonna end up being the all-time high move, like we talked about. Because if it can get above 618, that basically verifies that we will get back to all-time highs. Or you could be big bear, and if we go below 606, this will more likely than not start making a newer low than we had back here. Some of you guys remember, okay? Before we had that big pump on Friday, we could make a new low. Got it? All right. What does Tesla need to stay above tomorrow? It needs to stay above 279, or basically where it closed at, okay? 279 or 429. Sorry, 279. Where did I get that price? 429. Okay, if we can stay above 429, then it can start pushing higher to maybe like 450. Okay, that's with a lot of these stocks. Like a lot of these stocks look like that. They're all sitting in resistances, which makes sense. That's what the Qs is doing. As for Riot, all Riot continues to do is retest the breakout. There's nothing too much to look at. It needs above 1830, like we talked about. Okay, 1830 tells you it's ready to get to all-time highs and even 2688. Okay, I like Riot. I really like Riot. It just has to, the market has to be there for it too. Like the market has to be bullish. Okay, if you're looking at MU, first of all, MU is trucking. MU's going crazy. Okay, MU broke out from the lower highs, but now it is sitting in rejection level. Okay, so above 418, it will tell you it's ready to really I would say this area in general. Okay, 421 to like 418. It is now coming up into a big rejection zone. Okay, big rejection zone, because if it can break above here, it goes back to all-time highs. If not, this will be a nice rejection, a very nice rejection. All right. So the victim level, there we go. It's the victim level, okay? That means this is the victim level. That means if you're buying right here, you miss the entire rally. You're buying someone's 1,000% contract. You're buying in a rejection level. All the odds are stacked against you, and you decide to buy calls right here because you see it finally pumping, okay? This is where a lot of people, they get done dirty. They get done dirty right here because they try to chase the pump, and the pump has ended, and then it gets smacked down, and then it bottoms out, and then it makes so victim level. I'd wait for confirmation for it to get back above 420. If you missed it from 372 all the way to where it is right now, you're chasing. But that's just my opinion. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this this live. I read the comment. And said earnings. I hope you guys enjoyed this live, man. Everything is linked in the bio. We will be live again on Sunday. This will be posted on the YouTube. Yes, I'm still holding CRWV. Should be very, very interesting with Soxel. It is now broken above the victim level. Retested it today. Held above today. Could break out from this 5-year-long consolidation period. NVIDIA could really start turning up right here. So it's just a good risk to reward type of play. Even TSM, okay? Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later, man. Thank you for tuning in. I'm out. Peace. Good luck tomorrow. Good luck. Good luck. And God bless. I'm out.